Just sometimes when you're on your journey, you run into people, you meet people that you're supposed to meet, and you grow together, which is just a fantastic thing about this beautiful journey that we call life. But I always just kind of resonated with your story on how you got involved with all of this. Would you be willing to share your story about, you see in the Tony Robbins infomercial? That's one of my favorite stories of all time.
Yeah. I'll try to keep it short, right? So you got to go back 30 plus years ago. I grew up in an area called Delaware County, Delco. If you saw the TV series, Mayor of Easttown, right? I think it's Easttown, Easttown. That's Delco, right? Saturday Night Live made fun of Delco, right? I'm an Eagles fan, so it's all of that, right? So I moved to New York in '89, right? Yes, to do modeling. I met a very famous photographer named Steven Meisel. He did Madonna's sex book, Like a Virgin cover. And through a mutual friend, he wanted to shoot me. So I did like 6 pages in Rolling Stone magazine, back cover Interview magazine, full page out in Vanity Fair. I was in the window display for Valentino, right? So I moved to New York to sing, right? To start a rock band. I thought I could sing. I had hair. But to pursue modeling. So I worked at this major nightclub called the Limelight, 20th and 6th Avenue. You might know of it. If you're from New York, if you're from that area, you know it was a big, big nightclub. And I went there. And when I went there, I wasn't in bad shape with my life. I was headed towards bad shapeness, right? But I wasn't in addiction and alcoholism, but I was lost, right? So it didn't take me long because even in those days, I worked my ass off. I worked up to the VIP lounge. So I met everybody from rock stars to Colombian drug smugglers. Got hooked up with the wrong people. You know where the story goes.
Yep.
And one night I overdosed. I died. I was in a Colombian drug smuggler's apartment, a loft. He said to my girlfriend at the time, your boyfriend is dying. He's blue. He's not breathing. I'll call 911, but he can't die here. So this girl had dragged me literally out of the apartment by herself, down the elevator and out to the concrete sidewalk. EMTs came, they resuscitated me. Thank God for early responders, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be talking. And I went to St. Vincent's Hospital. It was a Friday. The next day was Saturday. And the first thing that went through my mind is cocaine, because that was my drug of choice. Cocaine can't kill me. So I'm going to go out and get more, right? And then I eventually realized the problem wasn't me. It was New York City, right? So if anyone has any addiction personally or in the family, you know how the story goes. We make up all the excuses. We look at we do this in life too, right? We look at every possible example or source of pain, except what's really the source of pain. And I moved out of New York City, went back to my mom and dad right outside the Philadelphia airport. And probably about 6-8 months, I was kicked out of my parents' house because I drained my parents' liquor bottles. They were not big drinkers, but they realized there was no alcohol. So I moved in this 2-room apartment. I was depressed on antidepressants, seeing psychiatrists and psychologists. Right? I had a DUI. Right? My life was spiraling down. I was suicidal in my thoughts, right? And I saw an infomercial, November 1993, for Tony Robbins. And I thought it was the biggest bunch of BS I ever heard before, right? Because like money, get rich quick, right? This and that. But he said one thing that resonated with me. And that was, your past does not equal your future. Doesn't matter how many times you screwed up in the past. Right now, we all have this capability of making a choice, right? We can make a choice right now and change the trajectory forever. If you're $10,000, $20,000, $40,000 in debt, no, you won't get out of debt today. But that decision that changes the trajectory to get you out of debt, that decision is right now. So I had to watch the infomercial for 3 nights because I'm stubborn. I bought the tapes, November 93. And I remember, Garrett, like I still have it, like the book, the little book of the cassette tapes. The first question was, what are 2 things you need to make, 2 changes you need to make in your life? And the first thing I wrote was clean my apartment, then stop doing coke. Because I figured if I did coke one more time, it would help me clean my apartment. Then I'm like, no, I never do that. So I crossed that off. Stop doing coke, because I thought that's what it was. See, we don't understand the depths of how these patterns are. Yeah, the cocaine use was where it was causing the most pain, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was everything else I was doing, but that really wasn't the problem. The problem was what was inside of me, how I felt about me, right? My belief, my self-worth. Am I enough? And clearly by my actions, I didn't value myself very high. I was killing myself. So I'm in this apartment. I end up buying those tapes. I start listening to them and using them. And it took me a couple months, but finally on St. Patty's Day, purely by example, in 94, I made a commitment, right? My commitment was to live my life better or worse without drugs and alcohol, right? And I got addicted to listening to those tapes because there was a school of a thought behind them. It was mechanics behind them. And I listened to them for 5 years, no lie, over and over again. I would get done one day 30, put day one in. And it built up this knowledge base. And then eventually 5 years into it, a friend of mine takes me to WrestleMania. I see Tony Robbins is coming here. I'm like, what's the coincidence of this? I buy the ticket. I go to Tony Robbins. It was Tony Robbins. Donald Trump spoke there. A bunch of Eagles players. Brian Tracy spoke there. But it was something about immersion, of being like totally like lost in the experience for a couple hours where I hyper grew. I went home, I signed up for the seminar, I did my first firewalk, and then I bought everything. I'm that type of person, right?
Yep.
If it's good, more must be better, right? It worked for me. And I got very involved in Tony's company. I did all his programs. I was a leader. I was eventually recruited to be a coach for him. But I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. And as much as I love Tony Robbins, what he does, I felt my purpose was to help people more directly, not in a support staff. So without much knowledge, other than some entrepreneur skills, since I started a business when I was 12, I opened up Get Life Coaching, 2 clients in my basement with a phone. And then 25 years later, still doing it, got clients around the world. And in that process, fell in love with firewalking so much, I bought the Firewalking Institute. And we have it housed here in Delaware, moved it from Texas to here. So it's a big story, I know. But, it's been a challenging 25 years just because you make a commitment to change your life, whether it's like, I'm not going to be depressed anymore. I'm not going to be a victim to my own circumstances, or I'm not going to be drugs and alcohol, whatever, right? Once you make the decision, that's when the work begins. I think most people think the decision which is paramount, is the work. Nah, the decision is that consistency, right? Day in, day out. Anybody can do it for a month. We see that at the gym right now. What is it, February 5th? Yeah, the gyms are empty now because 90% of the people think it's a decision. It's not. It's the work. And that's what I help my clients do, find that alignment so they're more incongruent with who they are, so they become more aerodynamic, more efficient in their decisions and actions.